Okay, architecture part 5. We're gonna look at different Islamic structures. So makarnas, we're gonna start with makarnas. Hey, makarna. Makarnas are honeycomb-like decorations often applied in Islamic buildings to domes, niches, or vaults. The surface resembles intricate stalactites. These can be found in which pieces of the 250? So it's found in the Great Mosque of Isfahan and then the Alhambra Palace. So here it is in the Great Mosque of Isfahan. So this piece should not be on this test because it is not, they cut out the Asia unit. But the other Islamic works that were not considered part of the Asia unit actually could still be on this test. So this is from the Alhambra Palace in Granada, Spain, and this is showing elaborately carved makarnas in the Hall of the Sisters. So you would stand underneath and then look up at this. Okay, here's some vocabulary dealing with mosques. You have a minaret, courtyard, mihrab, minbar, qibla wall, hypostyle hall, mezzan, and Mecca. All right, so the minaret is the tower, tall, slender column used to call people to prayer. Oop, hi there. The mihrab, the central niche in a mosque. Let me move forward, sorry. Central niche in a mosque, which indicates the direction to Mecca. So this is telling you which way you should be facing to pray. The minbar is a pulpit from which sermons are given. So that's what whoever's giving the sermon, that's what they would be standing on. The qibla wall, again, shows the direction toward Mecca, which Muslims face in prayer. So this would be the qibla wall. Oh yeah, it says it right there, qibla wall. The hypostyle hall, a hall that has a roof supported by a dense thicket of columns. We've seen that before. The mezzan is the Islamic official who calls the people to prayer. So it's not a priest that would stand on the minbar. It is a mezzan. And then the Mecca is the holy city for Muslims. It's where the Kaaba is, the place where Muhammad was born. All right, and here's another picture kind of showing you the same thing, the different ideas. So we looked at 4 different, actually, sorry, let me go back a second. I have some notes here. The mosque in Muslim means gathering place for prayer. The main mosque of a city used for the Friday communal prayer is called the Friday Mosque. Ritual cleansing in community takes place in the courtyard. So there's always going to be a courtyard. Older mosques are going to be the hypostyle hall with the pillars. We'll look at those. Okay, we talked about the rest. All right, so we looked at these 4 different examples. I put an X here because the Great Mosque of Isfahan is not going to be on test, but the other 3 could. So these are all different types of mosques. So the Great Mosque of Cordoba is a hypostyle mosque, and then the Great Mosque of Janet is also a hypostyle mosque, but it's got a different shape to it. And then the Mosque of Selim II in Turkey is the centrally planned mosque. The one of Great Mosque of Isfahan is the 4E1, but we shouldn't have to, well, if there's still gonna be a question about continuity and change and comparisons, you can always talk about it, but yeah. All right, so the hypostyle mosque means many columns, and there's always gonna be an open courtyard that's called the San, but this type of mosque is based off of the home of Muhammad. So that's why the hypostyle mosque is the early type of mosque. So let me read my notes. The shape of the mosque is shaped from Muhammad's home in Medina. The ground plan is on the right of Muhammad's home. The home of the Prophet Muhammad had a large courtyard surrounded by long rooms supported by columns. This style of mosque came to be known as hypostyle. A fundamental necessity of a mosque is to hold the entire male population of the city, so that is why they have a large prayer hall. And this is connected to an open courtyard called a san. Within the courtyard is a fountain that would be used for ritual cleansing before prayer. And then this is an example of the Mosque of Selim II. So you've got the dome mosque, the courtyard. The qibla wall is this whole wall, and then the mihrab, remember, is the niche that would tell you which way to face towards Mecca. So this is the domed square central plan. The architect is Sinan the Great. He makes it his lifelong challenge to create a perfectly unified combination of the square and the dome in one unified space. All would be able to see the mihrab. The dome is a tiny bit higher than Hagia Sophia, created as a perfect fusion of a square, an octagon, and a circular dome. Here's a comparison to the Hagia Sophia. He kind of made it his lifelong goal to create something better to outdo the Hagia Sophia. The interior octagonal space. So here's the inside of it. The interior, oh, look at those windows. Clear story windows. You guys knew that. All right, the interior octagonal space was made more spacious by 8 massive piers that pushed back into the walls, and a rhythmic harmony was created through the apertures of small and large arches framed by joggled voussoirs. So remember, the voussoirs are like the alternating stones, kind of like we saw in Cordoba, and these are, what should we call it? Joggled, filling the large space with light and color. All right, so there's macarnas in here. Oh, these are the examples of the macarnas. Obviously, this is a dome. Squinches are basically just like pendentives. And then you've got the piers. Oh, here's a better picture of the macarnas that just popped up. Here's even more macarnas. Okay, got it. All right, clear story windows. Here they are in the bottom in the Hagia Sophia. They're also in the Dome of the, the Dome of the Rock up here. And then this is Sinon. Okay, all mosques are oriented toward Mecca because Muslims must pray 5 times a day facing the holy city. The Qibla wall is marked by a mihrab, which is an empty niche that directs the worshippers' attention. To remind the faithful to pray, tall minaret towers are usually constructed in every corner of the Muslim world from which the call to pray is recited to the faithful. These are composed of a base, a tall shaft with an internal staircase, and a gallery from which the muezzin calls people to prayer. The most common mosque design includes hypostyle halls with several columns in a central courtyard called a san. Oh, it's blank. Oh, Cordoba. Okay, so we're going to look at some details. This is a detail of the exterior of Cordoba. So you have the overlapping arch, which is an arch creating the 3-pointed arch. So you have one arch here that overlaps another arch, and in doing so creates that 3-pointed arch. The lobed arch is what this one is called, and then the horseshoe arch, which is this one here. I was watching a show and I saw a building, it had the horseshoe arches, and I was like, oh, they're in Spain, and they were. Okay, the horseshoe arch was already present in Spain at the time. It's very common in the architecture of the Spanish Visigoths. The Visigoths were the people that ruled this area after the Roman Empire collapsed and before the Umayyads arrived from Damascus. This becomes very characteristic of Western Islamic architecture. Overall, the Mosque of Cordoba, here's a 3-pointed arch. The Mosque of Cordoba brings together elements from earlier Umayyad structures from the east and combines them with styles already in Spain, like the horseshoe arch. There's repetition of geometric designs, demonstrates the Islamic belief that there is unity in multiplicity. The striped arches, so these types of arches, alternating voussoirs of red brick and white stone. Ooh, voussoir, there it is. Wedge-shaped or tapered stone used to construct an arch. Voussoir. The double horseshoe. Oh yeah, and there, Cordoba has the double horseshoe arches. What is this? So this is a collision of cultures. This is a great theme. You can compare this to other pieces that have a collision of cultures. So this was later converted into a Christian cathedral in the 13th century. This is when the next conquering people came in and made Cordoba part of Christian Spain. The minaret was changed into a bell tower, and the cathedral was built right into the hypostyle prayer hall, like right in there. Kind of blends pretty well. So what do all 3 of these have in common? You've got Hagia Sophia, and then you've got what we just looked at, the Great Mosque of Cordoba, and then you have Coricancha in Cuzco. So these, I put it on there, these all reflect architecture that is changing over time due to conquest. So Hagia Sophia was a church that was changed into a mosque and is now a museum. And then Cuzco was the most important temple in the Inca Empire that was transformed into a church, Church of Santo Domingo. So that's architecture reflecting the time of conquest. And then Cordoba. Here's some more pictures of inside Cordoba. So this is the Qibla wall, and this is the niche And then you would look up and there's the dome. And then it's got the overlapping arches that create the pointed arches. I can't think of the dome. The mihrab, sorry. The mihrab is the empty niche. Okay, so that's the mihrab on the Qibla wall. Cross-cultural connections. What do these all have in common? You've got the Hall of the Sisters in the Alhambra Palace. Yep, that's on the top left. You can see the macarnas on the roof. You've got the House of the Veti, which is Roman. And then you've got Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water. And then you have the Hall of Mirrors from Versailles. So lots of different time periods and lots of different places. These are all just pictures of interiors being inside of different spaces. Pretty cool. Okay, cross-cultural connections here. You have the Great Mosque of Isfahan on the top left. Okay, you have the Great Stupa at Sanchi, and that won't be on the test either. You have the Chartres Cathedral, that's Gothic, soaring verticality on the top right. And then you have the White Temple and its ziggurat, and these are all places of worship, different places you would go to worship. Oh, Petra. I did not do a very good job teaching Petra, so we're going to read through this. Okay, located in an area connecting several trade routes, the, oh good lord, Nabateans were great traders who controlled the luxury trade in incense, spices, and cloth. Petra is one of the world's most famous archaeological sites where ancient Eastern traditions blended with Hellenistic architecture. Every element is carved from and is still attached to the living rock. So that word that I can't say, the Nabateans, are the people who built and resided in this area. And then you can relate that to the Bamiyan Buddhas, which won't be on our test, but about the influence of the drapery we talked about on the cloth. Okay, so this region became an important part of spice trade and major stop between Arabia and Syria. The city was established as the center of the kingdom of Nabatea by a nomadic Arab tribe. The city came in under Roman rule during Trajan's region, so that's a Roman ruler, and became part of Eastern Roman Empire and Byzantine. When it came under Roman rule, new structures were built and existing structures were modified using Roman techniques. Aniconic don't want nothing. No, aniconic means non-figurative images and design that's evidence of influence from the East. Remember, you can't have any depictions of human figures if it's aniconic and Islamic. Okay, there's just some pictures of the ground plan, floor plan. You can compare that to the temple of Hatshepsut, hot chicken soup from Egypt. Cross-cultural connections. All right, so on the top, there is a broken pediment. And then you have tholos. Then you have Corinthian columns. And then it's depicting different deities. So if you look again, all those different deities are being depicted. Amazon gods, Greek gods, Egyptian gods. Partial obelisk on the top. Okay, that is all for now.